guys, so as you guys can see, we are going to be talking about Makeup Revolution. Now, disclaimer for you guys that are wondering, the review is only going to be on the All About Bronzed palette and on the Hot Spice Blush palette. I do know that, let me pull it up real quick. There is one more blush palette that they offer, but they didn't have any. But it's called Sugar Spice palette, which I will link both of them down below if you guys are wanting to see what the other one looks like, or I'll insert a picture if I can get it. But so the first thing we're gonna jump into is the blush palette. I will do a close-up right now of the shadows. It is a combination of matte and shimmer blushes. It does say that it's gonna offer you 8 exclusive and unique shades to suit any occasion. So this is what it looks like right here. I am gonna give you guys more of a close-up. It is a plastic palette. It is very sleek. The only thing, and it doesn't bother me, but some people do get bothered by it, is that the packaging alone, it tends to transfer a lot of your fingerprints, and it does get pretty messy pretty fast, as you guys can see with mine. But if you guys can see it, mine has a lot of fingerprints, so it's not gonna stay very sleek. It's not gonna stay very nice and pretty. Moving into the actual performance of the blush. So when you swatch the shimmer blushes, so there are little flecks of gold, but they are so tiny and so minute that if you look at the blush up close, you may be able to see the little flecks, but from a distance of like 2 people talking to each other, it's not gonna be very noticeable. It's not gonna look like it's a shimmer blush. So that is the good thing. So if you are somebody who prefers more of your matte blushes and are kind of a little torn by the fact that it only has 3 matte blushes, keep in mind that when you go to transfer the blush, the shimmer blushes, onto your cheeks, they're not gonna be very shimmery. So there are 3 colors in this palette to me that almost look the same. The 2 blushes right in the center of the palette look exactly the same, except one is matte, one is shimmer. The other one that's just a little bit darker in tint color, not by much though, to me they all look the same. When I put them on my cheeks, I can't tell a difference. So the one thing to this is that in this specific palette, for these 3 blushes, it's almost like it's just one big blush. I do like the blushes, but for somebody of my skin color, I feel like I can't really utilize some of those blushes. I have tried to swatch them, I've tried to combine them, but when you're combining something as light as this with something as dark as like this one right here, you're really not gonna get that much of a color difference or color change. So the only shades that really show up for me are these 2 right here, and this one a little bit when I mix it with these 3. The other thing that I noticed is that for me, and if you're of my skin color, you're not really gonna get a whole lot of use out of this because these 2 I couldn't even see on my skin. Now, if you are of a lighter skin color than me, if you're anywhere from like a fair to a light, maybe a slight, maybe like in between a light and a medium, but you can wear those fair colors, this is a perfect palette for you. People with lighter skin tones, I feel, can utilize this palette so much more than like somebody with my complexion, because these colors are all gonna show up very nicely on the skin. They're also very soft. They aren't super pigmented, which, you know, you can look at that in 2 different ways. You can say, oh, they're not very pigmented, so they're gonna be terrible. Or you can say, oh, well, they're not very pigmented, but I can slowly build the color. So if you are of a fairer skin tone and you have issues where sometimes the product is too pigmented, that it's just too stark for your skin, this might work for you. Now, the other thing that I've noticed with these 6 blushes, I'm not gonna get to the highlights yet, but the 6 blushes that I've noticed is that they aren't long wearing. I have issues with them. They don't wear as long as some of my other blushes. Now, they're not claiming to wear as long as my other blushes, but keep that in mind that if you are buying this palette, you're not gonna get that much of a long use out of them. You're probably gonna get a good 4 to 6 hours out of them. The highlighters, or as they call them, blushes, but in my personal opinion, I think they're straight up highlighters. I really like them. I really, really, really like the highlighters. The one thing I can say is, so you have this color right here. So probably on camera, you guys see this as a white highlight, and it's got a pink undertone. It does come off as a very nice, slight pink highlight. This one right here, I do like. This is more of your peachy highlight. So this highlight right here, if you're somebody who doesn't like stark highlights, or you're somebody that wants a nice, very soft highlight where it's almost undetectable, but it's a nice glow. This might work for you. It's also peachy tone, peachy pink tone highlight, so it's gonna be very neutral. Whereas this one is more of your starker highlight, where it's gonna be your white highlight with your pink undertone. So if you are somebody who likes a nice bright highlight, if you are somebody that's of a lighter skin tone than me, I feel like this is gonna come off very well for you. Now, keeping in mind that you are gonna pay $10 for the price. Now for $10 for the price, technically you're getting 6 blushes, 2 highlights. 6 of those blushes, I feel like 3 of them can be manipulated as the same. So now you're really getting 4 blushes, 2 highlights. 1 highlight is darker than the other. There's still good highlights. One of them is brighter than the other. So if you're looking for more of a day highlight that's not gonna be as bright, then you're gonna get that. And you're also gonna get one that's more of your starker, brighter highlight. Next thing we're gonna go into is the bronze palette. So when I got this palette, I was looking all over the aisle because I wanted to make sure that this wasn't the only palette that I could get. I didn't know if they had, I was hoping that they were gonna have you know, different color shade ranges, like light to medium, medium to dark, but they didn't. They just have one, which isn't bad. This one also runs $10 at Ulta, and it's supposed to give you that beachy glow or fierce contour. So you're supposed to be able to bronze or contour with this palette, and it's got a range of warm colors for every skin tone that will leave you enchanted and sun-kissed. And now you can bronze, contour, and highlight. So it's got a mixture of matte, shimmer, and baked merged palettes. So once again, it comes like this in the same packaging. Comes in the same packaging as the blush palette. As you guys can see, I haven't used it as much. That's why there's not as many fingerprints. It does come with this little thing, which you might want to keep. I lost mine for my blush, but it just goes on top of it and it says baked bakes, and then it tells you which ones are shimmer and which ones are matte. It also has a full-size mirror, just like the blush palette, which I love, love, love. If I use it for anything, it's because of this mirror. I really do like this mirror. But, so here is what I saw. So when I first opened it, I was like, oh no. I was thinking I had to go on Ulta to make sure that I didn't get the wrong one, because if you look at it straight on, like right now, this is a very light palette. This palette is way too light for me. I am not gonna be able to use any of these colors. And trust me, if some of you guys are like, yeah, you can. No, I can't. I tried. Now, this right here, I mean, you guys, I don't even know what I'm gonna do with this. So, as you guys can see, when I swatch this one alone, that is way too light. I'm not gonna be able to do anything with that. Now, I'm not gonna set my under eye with it because it still has a little bit of glitter, and it's too powdery. It's way too powdery. Now, this one here, now we're starting to get just a little bit warmer. But once again, it's not really doing much for me. Same thing with this one. Now this one, this has got, I think when they did the shimmer, they were supposed to put the shimmer all over and they kind of just went and splashed a whole bunch of shimmer. This is a very shimmery bronzer. Very, very, very shimmery bronzer. So then we go into your matte highlights. Now the thing with these matte highlights is that this one right here, once again, I can't do anything with it. This one is way too orange. I tried using it and it honestly looked very orangey on my skin tone. And this one, which I assume is more of your cool tone bronzer, is supposed to be more of something that you can contour with. This one right here comes off as a nice highlight, but as you guys can see, this is more of a nice softer highlight. So if you are somebody that likes a softer highlight, this will actually do well for you. So the problem that I had with this one right here is that even though I would try to use it to bronze, more powder was sat on my brush, and then once I went to go bronze my areas that I needed to, the powder just flew everywhere. So if you go to the stands, sometimes they don't have the testers. At mine, they didn't. So if you do get a tester, swatch it on your hand. But if you don't, keep in mind, once again, with this palette on the box, the colors are a lot harder, a lot darker than what's on the actual palette. So here's the palette, and here's the box. This is a little bit darker than what I had expected it to be. Anyways, so that is the final thoughts on it. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this. Let me know if you guys plan on getting one or not. Let me know if you guys own them or what you guys think, if you guys are completely in disagreement with me or you guys agree with me. I would love to hear your thoughts. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys liked this review, and I hope to see you guys all in my next video. If you guys haven't subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. You guys can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter, which I tend to post more often and daily on my Instagram and sometimes my Twitter. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I hope to see you guys all in my next video. Bye.